Kris here. Green Sabre, Doom Telly time, episode 90. And hopefully a relatively quick one, but, you know, a little bit of update to go through. And there is 3 collection items that have arrived in said collection that I haven't, that I didn't mention on my last one. So I'll mention them here very quickly. The 4th item that I was hoping would turn up hasn't yet, so sadly, yeah. But anyway, right, so today's video will be that little bit of collection and a brief rundown of the week previous Friday's gig at the Underground, support to Goblin Smoker and Mastiff, which was great, but didn't quite go according to plan. So I'll fill in the details on that. Firstly, updates. Won't do a Green Sabre one because I'm about to tell you. CROWSBLOOD. Yeah, firing away, getting the stuff all polished and ready. I've got some lyrics, finally, that I've not run through with the lads yet, but we're just sort of concentrating on getting them musically down before I start firing. Vocals are always the last thing, for me anyway, they're the last thing that go on. I like last minute Larry with writing, I hate writing lyrics anyway, but they're honestly the last thing that goes. So even vocally, I will find areas and patch them in and make the noises I want to do. And that's kind of how my lyrics form. There'll be the odd word that I feel like just will pop into my head because I think it fits in that little gap. And often that will be where the thread of the lyrics comes from. But yeah, so essentially you don't need to know all that shit though. But yeah, they're the last thing that happens. So, but we're getting there as such. We're not rehearsing this week because work's got in the way, a few work commitments for a couple of us in actual fact. So it means that by the time we get down to rehearsal on Monday, we'll have about 40 minutes, which doesn't seem a lot of point setting up, quite frankly. But anyway, so no further CROWSBLOOD updates as such. No further GODTHRYMM updates, although I think there are about to be another couple of gigs that we will announce at some point over the rest of the year. So watch this space. Rest of it, like I say, is just working away on getting new tracks ready for the forthcoming new album. Very exciting. Green Sabre update. Gig rundown. So let's where do we start? So yeah, Friday just gone, Friday 7th of March, we played the Underground in Bradford as support to Mastiff. It was their gig, and Goblin Smoker that were the other main support for him. And we opened the night. Plan as usual. I finished work a little bit early on the Friday, so got down there for about 5 o'clock, half past loading. By the time I got there was only the sound guy waiting for me. So I was the first one. Piled my gear in and we hung around. Mastiff arrived next, helped them in with gear and so on and so forth. And then Hamish and Kath, because Hamish was coming sort of straight from work, had to go on, get his gear, pile back down. And it was at that point, waiting for Hamish and Kath to turn up, that I got a phone call off Brian and Rossi, who were making their way from over Lancaster way. And I'd set off in more than enough time to tell me we've just hit an absolute logjam on the M6. I haven't moved anywhere in about the last 15 minutes. So might be a bit later than planned. No major crisis. However, upon further investigation, the traffic that they'd hit was a massive crash on the M6 going southbound that involved like 2 wagons that were on the side. I think one of them may have caught fire. Some cars that had piled into the back of it. Thankfully, there were no serious injuries from this, from this, I should say. However, I didn't think much about it. I thought, all right, they'll be late. Well, it doesn't matter. We didn't need a sound checker out. We generally just sort of, when you're first on, you line check and you pretty much set up, load on, load off, go for it. So, easy as, so I wasn't really panicking at that point. However, it got to, we were due to go on, doors were 7:30 and we were going on at 8:15. And we got to 6:30, 6:45, rung them. Any progress? So you passed it? Like, no, we've barely moved. And just at that point then thinking, right, I'm fine, it's nearly 7 o'clock. You've got about an hour to get here, giving us time to set up and go on for 8:15. That's going to be tight because the accident had happened somewhere, I don't know if you know, Lancashire, but it happened somewhere between Lancaster and Preston, sort of around Garstang, somewhere like that, on the M6. So I'm thinking, right, shit, they've got only just over an hour to get here. This is going to be mighty tight. At that point as well, it's worth bearing in mind that Brian and Rossi the poor sods have been sat for hours and gone about 200 yards. So, yeah, you know, feel for those guys sat in that. Well, it got worse. So we got to 7:15. Like, any update? Still not really moved. Couldn't see the accident. It's like, fuck me, they're miles away, and they've got... At that point, even if they... all of a sudden the motorway had miraculously cleared and they were away, they were at least an hour away from venue. And at that point, we had under an hour before we went on. Anyway, the organiser, Gaz, out of Sonneborn, Iron Ball Booking, shout out Gaz, top banana, and thank you for having us on. At that point, Gaz is like, we can probably put you off till about 1:30, possibly reduce the set slightly if you need to, but that's about as far as we can go. I'd even started thinking, shit, I wonder do you reckon Goblin Smoker might go on first and then go out, which is cheeky as hell, and sort of like, it's not their fault that we've not got there. And also, Goblin Smoker will like the support for Mastiff on this little run of gigs. So, yeah, it was not something that was going to happen, basically. So, anyway, it was about 7:45. Bry's like, we can see the accident now, or they were resurfacing again at that point. I said, but we're still not past it. I'm like, you've got 45 minutes tops to get here. They were well over. They were probably about an hour and 5, hour and 10 away. So it was like, shit, right, we'll have to cancel. Turn around, lads. Don't worry about it. So, yeah, very disappointing because we'd all been very much looking forward to this gig with Mastiff and Goblin Smoker, of course. But yeah, Mastiff were a big pull for us. So, yeah, absolutely gutted. So I'm thinking, shit, I'm going to have to pull it. Hamish, being the prince as such of doom metal that he is and a multi-instrumentalist, Hamish hatched the plan, could we two-piece it? To which I immediately thought, what, me and you just play guitar? Like, kind of sort of do More Than Words by Extreme or something. And he's like, no, we'll... you play guitar and we'll sort of twin feed it through both amps. You do vocals, I'll do drums. It's like, shit, right, yeah, that's feasible, that's doable. And to put it in some context, anyone else mentioning that plan, it would have likely been, don't be daft, this ain't gonna work. But when Hamish mentioned it, my immediate reaction was like, yeah, that'll work. Yeah, I had absolute faith in Hamish to pull it off on drums, and pull it off he did, yes. So the long story is, we performed that gig as a two-piece. We were sort of like a doom metal wham. If any of you know Big Business, they're a two-piece. So it was sort of along those lines. So, yeah, it was a bit of major panic, and we ended up going on at the same time. We had 3 songs set for half an hour, which were reduced to 2 because the middle song, Mountain, the newer of the what, for any of you that have seen as the newer, I say new, it's probably about 2-year-old now, of the tracks that we do, we knew straight off the bat, like, there is no feasible way we're going to pull this off in any shape, because there's quite a lot of layers in that. There's harmony layers that are absolutely integral to the flow of it in places, and so... pulling that off as a two-piece was never going to happen. However, Loss and Fracture from the demo, available at all good retailers, link below, we sort of thought, yeah, I will pad out and sort of almost play both guitars, so lots of stretch chords, but play some of or partly both guitar sections and sing it. I mean, I wrote the song, so I know I'm like back of my hand. And we did it, and my God, if we didn't pull it off somehow. It went down well. I think there was an element of everyone feeling a little bit sorry for us, and I'd still sort of felt awful for Brian Rossi that had been sat on the M6 for what was 4 to 5 hours at that point, knowing A, that they weren't going to get anywhere, and B, that they weren't going to get to play the gig either. But anyway, lads, me and Hamish did it for you, and we managed to pull it off. Went down great. Mastiff, Goblin Smoker, really supportive, because, of course, there was a house kit there, but a lack of basics, no drumsticks and stuff like that. So we had to scramble around and ask very kindly of the two other bands, who were both, to a man, brilliant. So hats off you guys. And helped us out even with drumsticks, clutches for hi-hats, the golden discs that make a splash noise, cymbals is the word I'm looking for. yeah, I tell you, I cannot thank them all enough. And we somehow managed to pull it off as a two-piece, and it went down great. And I thought we played pretty well, all things considered. It's not something we would like to do again in a hurry, I should add. Hamish is, however brilliant leading on drums, his guitar work is sensational, and I'd rather hear him doing that over his fantastic drums that, honestly, I mean, yeah, he's been learning those songs in earnest, but not the fucking drum line. So for him to be able to remember the majority of it and pull it off, absolute shout out, hero Hamish. So yeah, it was great. Goblin Smoker followed us, lovely bunch of lads, and they're great. I need to investigate them more, because I will be brutally honest, I didn't know a massive amount about them going into the gig. I didn't really investigate. Mastiff, however, I did know about them. They've played Damnation, was it the Night of Salvation, a couple of years back. And they've got serious pedigree, these lads, and live, wallop. And they were also suffering their own little lineup malfunction. They were down to one guitarist, so they did a similar thing. In fact, I feel like subconsciously we got the idea off them, where he said, I'm just going to line through into the other guitar amp and dual amp it. And that's kind of how I got away with it. I went through, my effects pedal has got a dual output, so I went through my normal output into my JCM 800 and got my usual chunky sound. We put the other line out into Hamish's valve state that he would have been using, cranked up the bass to absolute maximum, so it felt like there was a sort of bass line rumbling away in the background through it. And wallop, job's a good one, and I think Mastiff did a similar, well, obviously just two guitars because they had a bass player, did a similar approach, and my God, they're heavy. If you have not seen Mastiff live, the next opportunity you get, you have to take it, because they're sensational. They're a great bunch. Jim in particular, the vocalist too. I got on with like a house on fire straight off the bat. Great band, great lads, and a pleasure supporting them. So I really can't say enough about Mastiff. And that was the gig. So yeah, I mean, talk about winging it and flying on the seat of your ass with these sort of things. But yeah, we did it, and I'm glad that we did, in actual fact. Because I'd have been gutted not to play at all. Yeah, what the people got was, what did one of my friends in the crowd say? Said, you need to sell this as for one night only. And yeah, that's kind of how we want to sell it. We don't plan on doing it anytime again soon. But yeah, for those there, they got a unique experience. And that was the other thing that I say, yeah, it's really difficult to predict what turnout's going to be at these things. But that was Mastiff in Bradford, and I'd say it was probably half full, the venue. It was a really disappointing turnout for what was a great lineup of bands, including ourselves. But yeah, I'm like, I know, money's tight. There's lots of gigs going on. All bands need everyone's support, and you can't go to everything. But yeah, surprisingly poor turnout for that, but you missed a treat. So yeah, that's all I'll say on that matter. I could waffle on forever, but yeah, if it wasn't for Hamish's quick thinking, we'd have probably pulled that gig under normal circumstances. Certainly pre-Hamish in the band, we would have pulled that gig. So that's all I'll say on that front. So yeah, it was a great night, a top night. I got some merchandise. I love this t-shirt, by the way. Get onto their site. You've seen the film Possum? Get on it. It's a great design as this. Loved it. I think Hamish picked up exactly the same design as well. So yeah, I thought I'm having some of that. But also, segueing into a collection update, I picked up this while I was there as well. The latest album from Mastiff, The Precipice. That's what it's called. Yeah. Sensational. Yeah, like I say, a band that I knew of, but not a band that I'd investigated thoroughly, just to tracks sort of here and there. But I'm glad that I have now seen them in the flesh and have now investigated properly, and I'm glad that I bought this. It's great. The latest came out back end of last year. Didn't make my album of the year's album of 2024 cut, because basically I've not investigated it at that point properly. So shame on me. I'm glad that I had now, and I feel like this might have definitely, well, it would have definitely been in top 20 somewhere, I suspect. So yeah, so the latest edition, Mastiff, The Precipice. Another CD edition is this, and hats off once again for album cover artwork. The New Sacred Son, Grief Commodity, is it called? Yes, Grief Commodity. great. And it's got one of the greatest song titles of all time on it. Very small print. So let me see if I can read it. But track 1 is called Nothing But Snakes Round Here. Just me and the kids from now on. Kiss, kiss, kiss. What a great song title. What a great album cover. Sacred Son have got a history of great album covers. And another great album. I love what they do, and they do it really, really well. This in particular is a very lo-fi, deliberately lo-fi production. I believe, I could be wrong here, but all of it was recorded on the iPhone voice recorder app on the phone. So basically just for, I mean, obviously, you know, microphones and various other things were used in order, but they basically recorded it all on an iPhone's voice recorder, which for ideas is still what I use. I'll just turn on record, play along with it, be it an acoustic or a electric or whatever it is, and then send that file to the boys. But great stuff. Not investigated thoroughly yet, but what I've listened to so far, I really, really enjoy. And the final new addition to collection is the new Abduction. I mentioned this on last week's video, and it's fast becoming already one of the albums of the year. It's an absolute beast of an album, is this. And I would say it's, on what I've listened to so far, an improvement on Black Blood. And Black Blood is a cracker of a record. This is the, I don't know what you would call that, aqua, teal, turquoise, whatever it is, but nice coloured vinyl. Pre-ordered this direct from the band's Bandcamp page. I want to say it was one of them anyway. But yeah, glad to have this in the collection, and this has had pretty heavy rotation on my various musical systems since it come out. So yeah, very glad to get that in the collection. Right, let's rein it in. Look, under 20 minutes, fantastic stuff. Very quick one. Next week, I've had a request off one person to continue, you know you are, shout out, to continue my decade or year in metal videos. So I might just start picking them up again. It's 1998, though, that is the next year that I've got to do. And it will be slim pickings. Because, yeah, I don't think it was a great year at all. In fact, the next few years of those might not be. But it might start getting interesting again as we get into the noughties, if you will. So, yeah, I think I'm going to investigate that. And I might just pick them up again further. So thanks for liking and subscribing and watching this fucking nonsense. And I shall carry on. So until the next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later. Toodle pip.